Hi, today we're amongst the tombstones and we're going to talk about photographing wood pigeons. I've talked before on my YouTube channel about going into city parks because that's where our wildlife is tame and approachable, but of course it's not just the parks, it's any green area within a city, and cemeteries can be absolutely full of wildlife. And I've noticed over the last few years that this particular cemetery is fantastic for wood pigeons, huge numbers of them. You could probably have half a dozen nests around this little small area I'm in. So there's lots of behaviour going on all the time. They're fighting, they're mating, they're feeding the young. It's been very productive for wood pigeons in this particular cemetery. Now it might not seem very exciting talking about a wood pigeon, but I actually like them. I think they've got lovely subtle colours in them, but also they're just natural posers. They really know how to show off for a photographer. It's like working with a professional model. They just automatically take up a nice pose, showing off their best side. Now, if you live in Europe, mainland Europe, you might not find wood pigeons nearly so numerous or as approachable as in the British city parks. I don't tend to notice it abroad so much, but in our city parks in the UK, they're very, very numerous and very, very tame. And I have heard about European photographers coming to Britain to photograph our wood pigeons in the same way that we might go into Europe to photograph turtle doves, because we hardly have any turtle doves in the UK now. But you go to Spain, and this particular picture was taken out of the car window really quite easily, just driving along. And you go into Eastern Europe and they're even more common and come down to drinking pools on a regular basis. One of the things I've been trying to do here is the display flight of a wood pigeon. And in the spring you see it a lot. It's a very undulating flight. They go up in the air and down and then back up in the air, and they clap the wings and then they soar and they almost stall. When they come to the top of the curve, they almost stall, and that makes it relatively easy to photograph because they're not moving very fast. But you've just got to be in the right place where it keeps happening. And I spent 3 hours here about 4 days ago looking in this direction where I got a nice open area, and 3 times in 3 hours it did the display flight. The first time I missed it completely. The second time it went too far to the left, the light wasn't catching it, and the third time I got one shot. Well, I got several shots, but I clipped the wing or I clipped the tail, so I just got one picture, which is this one. But another way of getting flight shots is when they're building the nest, because every 2 or 3 minutes they fly into the nest with a stick and then they fly back out again. So you get 2 opportunities as they fly in and as they fly out. And so with so many nests around here, that can be going on all day long and give you a lot of good opportunities to try and photograph wood pigeons in flight. So this bird is carrying a nesting stick, be it a small one, into the nest, and a minute later it will fly out of the nest again. Plenty of opportunity for flight pictures. It's easier when they're taking a straight line into the nest rather than curving round. This bird was going backwards and forwards in a very straight line. Shutter speeds, you're aiming for about 0.002 of a second and upwards if there's enough light. Always much easier to photograph a bird as it's taking off. At least you know where it was to start with. And most autofocus systems find it easier against the sky rather than have a cluttered background behind. Although I find the Olympus is actually very good with cluttered backgrounds. This is why I like wood pigeons. They're great posers. They really know how to show off for the camera. And they've got these lovely subtle colours in them. It's a very attractive bird. A young bird on the right hand side with no white flash on the neck. And wood pigeons on the nest, totally unconcerned by people walking about in the churchyard. And this is a very old picture, taken on Kodachrome 64, and it hasn't scanned very well. But I just thought I'd show you this because it's taken from a scaffolding tower hide, and I had 21 hours in that hide for one visit. They don't feed very often once the young are this age. It's about once every 4 hours. So I was doing 3 to 4 hour sessions and had to wait 21 hours in total before bird came in. They then fed for about 5 minutes. So some of the courtship in the churchyard, the bird on the right there dipping down, then is joined by a third bird and we start to get some interaction. Note the wing flips. 1, 2. They flick the wings like that a lot. And in this churchyard there's always a lot of activity. Birds chasing each other around. Another wing flip and another one. This has always been my favourite sort of bird photography. I enjoy spending a lot of time with one species. Not just a question of hours, but keep going back day after day. Now this pair has found a bit of space and time to themselves, so now they're getting on with the courtship. Now whether they're actually feeding each other at this point, I don't know. When they're feeding the young, they regurgitate pigeon milk from the crop, but I wouldn't have thought they were doing it at this stage. Now you can see the female on the left has just invited the male to mate her. I'm a bit close, so I've got to back off a bit, but there's space to do that. They're not bothered by me. Put them a bit smaller in the frame because he's going to jump up on the back and then he's going to stretch his wings, so I've got to make sure I've got space for the entire bird. There we go, wing stretch. And you don't have to wait much longer, and there's another pair at it. More courtship. This went on for about 5 minutes, so I've had to jump through it. So we just dissolve forwards. And there she's inviting him. Now as a stills picture that wouldn't work because they've got the backs to us, but with video it doesn't really matter. And a bit of grooming to complete the courtship, the bonding. They pose on top of the tombstones a lot, just making nice portraits. Now I'll finish off with this sequence. I have shown this before on YouTube, but only a short part of it. I'm going to let the whole clip run this time. It's an adult bird feeding 2 recently fledged youngsters, regurgitating the pigeon milk, and I love watching things in slow motion. Thanks for watching.